If you've been around my channel for any length of time, you'll know that I'm a fan of the Doom reboots. Both Doom 2016 and Doom Eternal are games that I had a lot of fun with and respected for their fast-paced action with an emphasis on just blowing everything in existence to pieces. They're great games, and really, I'd go as far as to say that both of them are two of the best first-person shooters to have dropped in the last decade. While I feel that both Doom 2016 and Doom Eternal have their own merits, there was something special about the first reboot. What I really appreciated about Doom 2016 was that the game felt like it was getting straight to the point. I mean, right from the get-go, you're just blasting away at everything in existence. Yeah, the story's there, but I think the key feature that made the game stand out against other first-person shooters was just how smooth it felt to drop enemies in the game. Not just that, it had a very cool look to it thanks to things like glory kills and how unique every weapon in the game felt. It was hard to get bored when you had so much stuff to play around with. Fast forward to Doom the Dark Ages and we have even more new weapons and things to utilize in our demon slaying efforts. And while I think that the game is a step forward and a step back from the two previous entries, I'd go as far as to say that it's still a pretty decent entry for the most part. Unfortunately, the game takes a hit in a few areas. The combat is still a lot of fun and the new shield is great to play around with, but the game has some elements that I consider to be on the extreme side of monotonous. So with all that out of the way, let's just get right into it. Doom the Dark Ages is a first-person shooter developed by id Software and published by Bethesda Softworks. Attempting to avoid too many spoilers and give a simplified rundown here, Doom the Dark Ages serves as a prequel. The game itself places the Doomslayer in a realm called Argent Nur, where he's initially being controlled by a race known as the Makers. While this is happening, we see this demon prince dude Azrak trying to take control of the heart of Argent with a group called the Night Sentinels fighting against his armies. Ultimately, the Doomslayer joins up with the Night Sentinels to fight against Prince Azrak and the demons of hell. I'll be real, this is another story I found myself drifting in and out of. I'll admit it does have some cool moments when the Doomslayer is involved, but all this other stuff, I don't know, man. It was really hard to pay attention to. Like, the Doomslayer's a man of few words with his actions speaking for themselves, but it seems like every scene with him involved, you're just kind of expecting something epic to happen. Everyone else is yapping endlessly in this game, and this dude says one line, and it ends up being like one of the coolest moments for no reason whatsoever. See what I mean? So with that being said, I don't know how many people are actually playing Doom the Dark Ages to see some cinematic tale. I don't really care too much. Personally, it was whatever. It felt like a lot of the cutscenes drag things out when I just wanted to kill stuff. I mean, it does pick up towards the end of the game, but the first few chapters are like watching a movie that you didn't ask for but got anyway. It gets to a point where it feels almost therapeutic when the Doomslayer is unleashed and you get to blast away at demons, but then that battle high is interrupted by more talking.
If what they say is true, then this is a part of our heritage, not the Makers.
Damn, son. But what I will say is that I absolutely love the combat in Doom the Dark Ages. I'm not entirely sold on the game's addition of a parry mechanic, but at least it's not horrible to deal with, and the fact that it does switch things up from the previous games, I guess might be a positive for someone. I'm neutral on it. It doesn't bother me, though I think the changes to the series glory kills was a bit strange to deal with initially. They are still in the game, but it seems like more often than not, I'm just kicking at enemies. I've seen some people who are glad glory kills were removed and others upset. Personally, I liked having them because it was another one of those random things from the previous games that just looked really cool and made the Doomslayer feel like an absolute beast. Oh yeah, the Doomslayer still feels great in Doom the Dark Ages too. Dude is an absolute tank. Those loud stomping noises makes him feel like a freaking train. And to make him feel like even more of a monstrosity, the arsenal of weapons you get in the game make mowing stuff down feel like a treat. You also have sections where you get to hop into a mech and these other parts where you get to fly around on a dragon. I'm indifferent about the dragon stuff. I wasn't a huge fan of them, but the mech stuff was pretty cool, especially when you got guns. In general, something about the guns in the game feels great. Every single one of them has a unique feel to them, and each of them seems like they have their own uses in one way or another. Every weapon in the game also has its own set of upgrades upgrades and what have you, which helps make them all stronger as well. There's a few that I really enjoyed using, though it seemed like I mostly found myself blasting away at enemies using either the shotgun or the chain shotgun. Honestly, I barely used any of the other stuff after I got both of these upgraded, unless I was trying to complete the game's weapon mastery challenges, which is essentially just killing stuff with the weapons. You also get the shield runes, which are for a bunch of abilities that'll trigger when you parry incoming attacks, and also a few melee weapons like the gauntlet, the flail, and the mace. Like the chainsaw in Doom 2016 and Doom Eternal, you use the melee attacks in the game as a sort of a resource management to get back ammo and health. I don't think I had any personal preference with any of them, but I did end up using the mace a lot towards the end of the game since it felt a lot stronger than the other two weapons. And in the same vein as the guns, you can also upgrade the shield runes and the melee weapons. Upgrading everything in the game isn't anything terrible, but man, I hate that we've come to this section because I just don't know what to say about this game's collectible stuff. The toys and codexes are fine, but then you have to deal with finding boatloads of gold and these gems just to upgrade everything. Finding the items isn't exactly hard, but it can be tedious because a lot of the maps are massive. I was trying to go for 100%, so I locked in and spent most of my time with the game just running around trying to get everything. Honestly, there's no excuse to not bother with it either because all the game's quote-unquote secrets are all marked on the map. My big issue with them is that they interrupt the flow of the game because there's just so many of them. I mean, there's levels that I spent an hour or two on just trying to grab everything. And even then, I ended up missing a few here and there, which sucked because it meant I had to go through some of the levels again. Luckily, you can't just exit after you collect stuff, so it's not the worst thing in existence, but still, too much. Also, can they really be called secrets if they're all directly visible on the map screen? I mean, come on. It's not very secretive. I don't have any issue with collecting stuff, but the game's volume of them makes it feel like an extreme padding attempt to justify the game's price tag. And to add to that, I really wonder how much quicker I could have gotten through the game if I didn't bother with them. My Steam page said I was at 23 hours by the time I was done with Doom: The Dark Ages, and that's with me getting mostly all of the achievements aside for the weapon mastery stuff. I didn't really want to look up any guides to collect items, but there was a few here and there that I was really confused on how to get. This was mainly because of the level design. I mean, some of the levels are freaking huge. When I first did the Holy City of Ardum and then the initial siege level, I was honestly surprised at how open these maps were. And it seemed like there was a lot to them too. I mean, it could be annoying, but it's content, right? For the most part, I think a lot of the levels are fine, but I don't know. It threw me off a bit at the sheer size of some of them, especially when I was trying to go for a completionist playthrough, but I will add that it was kind of draining. Another part that I wasn't entirely sure how it was going to be on was with the music. Now, I love Doom 2016 and Doom Eternal's soundtrack, so I was weary about how Doom: The Dark Ages was going to be without Mick Gordon. It's still good, but yeah. I'm not really the biggest musical expert, but there's something that just feels different here, you know? I like it, but it's not entirely the same. So before we end, I do have one last thing to go over, and it's issues I found with the game. Not really too many. I mean, the collectibles, I've already said I think they need to calm down with this stuff because it got repetitive really fast. My only issue is that I had a bunch of crashes on PC, primarily happening when I'd be on the chapter select screen. I swear I saw this bug splat crash report thing after almost every chapter. It got to a point where I was honestly shocked when I didn't see it happen because it felt like it was happening so consistently, you know? So in closing, Doom: The Dark Ages is a game with some good stuff and some bad stuff. I like the weapons in the game, and the Doomslayer is just as awesome as ever. The story is whatever. I don't care. I just wanted to rip and tear. I think it's a fun enough game for the most part if you're not focusing on collecting stuff. That part might ruin the game for you a bit due to the tedium. All things considered, I think the game is worth getting on a sale. It's good, but is it worth $70 plus tax good? I don't know, man. If you like the Doom reboots, you'll probably like this game, but if you don't, then Probably won't. I liked it, but not enough to feel like the money I spent was justified. Either way, the game was a good enough time, and even though I don't think I liked it as much as the 2 previous entries in the Doom series, I think I still had a fun ride through the game, and it was awesome to see the Doomslayer back in action. Thank you all for watching. What did you all think about Doom the Dark Ages? Did you like it or nah? Leave a comment below and I'll check it out. Also, if you haven't already, please consider liking and subscribing. We'll be back with more before you know it, so stay tuned. Until next time, peace out.